Jake wanted to ask a question to Matt. Jake, if you want to ask your question, and then we'll move on to the next person.
Yeah, is Matt there?
Yeah, working on an article.
What's that?
I'm working on an article. Just released it on Carm just a minute ago. But I'm listening.
Okay, yeah, no, it's Jake, Matt. So I just had a question about our debate. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, so there was during the cross examination section, I was asking you a question um that was related to the Trinity, obviously, and I just want to read you exactly what the exchange was. So this is a transcription. I said, referring to the persons, and I quote, "They do not share all of the same properties, in the sense that the Father has personal properties that the Son doesn't have, and vice versa. Do you agree to that?" Your response was, "Depends what you mean by properties as they relate to the ontos," meaning to ontology. Okay. And then I said, "Meaning that the Father is unbegotten and the Son is not unbegotten." Your response was, "That's called the economic Trinity. I thought you said you know about the Trinity more than me. You do know how that refers to the economic aspect of the Trinity, right?" And so that's the end of the quote. Do you remember that exchange, Matt? And I just want to know if you stand by that statement or those series of statements.
I vaguely remember it. The economic Trinity deals with their relationship. The Father sent the Son. The Son did not send the Father. The Son is eternally begotten. So no problem.
So your position is that the Son having certain personal properties and the Father having certain personal properties, namely that the Father begets the Son and the Son is begotten of the Father, that is related to the economic Trinity and not the ontological Trinity, because you said depends what you mean by properties as they relate to the ontos, and then you went on to say that is the fact that one is begotten and one is unbegotten seemed like you were contrasting that with the ontological Trinity and saying that it's related to the economic Trinity. And that's what I see or I hear you saying now again. So I just want to confirm that that's the case.
It's difficult to really pay attention. You're asking a lot of stuff. If you want to email me that excerpt and ask a question of it, maybe I'll put an article up on Carm about it.
Okay, so let me just ask very precisely then. Is the fact that the Son is begotten of the Father, is that related to the ontological Trinity or the economic Trinity?
Both.
Okay, and what's your evidence for that?
Because the Trinity is that there are three persons, and then they have a relationship between them.
Yeah, but when I initially just asked you here, right, you said that's the economic Trinity, and that's what you said actually in the debate initially, because you contrasted the personal properties. You contrasted that, and you actually used the word ontos, which is related to ontological, and then you went on to say that's the economic Trinity. So you contrasted that with the ontological Trinity. So what I'm trying to understand is what was the point of the contrast if now you're saying both, and in what sense is it related to the economic Trinity?
Like I said, if you want to just send me the dialogue, and then I can work on a more precise answer. I'd be glad to do that and put it up on Carm.
Yeah, so I'd be happy to do that, Matt. But my claim is simply this: that what you said is actually incorrect. That it refers to the ontological Trinity and not to the economic Trinity, and that your initial statement was actually a false statement. And I think that was a big blunder on your part.
Just count it in with the numerous ones you made. Let me ask you a question. God is a triune being. Is that a statement of identity, predication, or both?
Well, before we finish or before we move on to the new subject, I just
I've
want to
already asked you.
conclude.
No, no, no.
What's that?
I think you're trying to. It sounds to me like you're trying to do damage control. That's what I'm getting. The message I'm getting. I've
No,
already
there's no
politely
damage
asked you.
control at all.
Right.
There's no
I'm
damage
doing.
control at all.
I think
This
so.
was this was very important, and it seemed like you made an extremely basic error. So for
I
somebody who's been teaching on the
can
Trinity for
you
30 plus years, it was quite shocking to me as well as many others in the audience. That's why I'm asking for clarification on the statements you made.
did you not hear me say send me that and I'll work up an answer to you?
Yeah, I just find it surprising that you would need me to send you something in order for you to have an answer to this.
The reason is I don't trust you. I don't trust you particularly because you're a Muslim. I don't trust your intentions here. I'm going to be careful of how I respond and what I say. It is the case that during debate, people can say things that aren't as precise as you might say in a latter time. If you want to exercise a privilege of going into something and saying, hey, I'm going to take this out and I want you to answer this, and then retroactively fit it back into the debate, that's your prerogative. I think you're doing damage control. As many people have concluded that I've talked to said that you didn't do well. So you want to send me that, then fine, send it to me.
Yeah.
And I'll see if I can work up
I mean,
a clarification. Is
no,
that a
this is
problem?
not damage control because I said the exact same thing in the debate itself. I'm just
Okay.
repeating.
And how many times do I have to repeat the same thing to you? Just like in our debate on clarification of the syllogism, I'd repeat it and clarify it 3 separate times. You seem to ignore that too. So I've
No,
said
because
this
you
here.
contradicted yourself. You were
I,
inconsistent on that.
I clarified the whole thing, and several people brought up the point. Why wouldn't you adapt to the clarification? Well, I know why.
You did later on, but then in that case, I'm just going to challenge premise two, which you didn't
Okay,
provide sufficient justification for. You never did throughout the entire debate.
okay. Actually, I did. And if you want to send me that dialogue, send it to me, info@carm.org, and I'll work up a little response. All right?
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Great. So here's my question, which you couldn't answer in a debate. Is the statement God is a triune being is the is of identity, predication, or is it both?
According to who?
Oh, that's good.
According to who?
According to you, I'm asking you. You are
According to
here.
me. So let me answer it this way, Matt. There are different positions on how Christians answer that question. And so I can give a full breakdown on the different possible options for a Christian to take. But me, you asking what my position on it, I don't even know what you mean by that question.
Glad that you're publicly saying you don't understand how to answer this
Yeah,
simple
because your
question.
question is nonsense, and everyone else can simply recognize how ridiculous your question is. And the fact that you think it's some gotcha that I don't know how to answer is just laughable.
I know how to answer it.
I don't know how to answer the question. If you could actually
No.
properly clarify your question, even though right now it doesn't make any sense, you're asking me what is my position on how that statement is interpreted.
Seems like
That's
you
Damage control.
a ridiculous question,
seems like you'd
given the
want to say
fact,
neither, Jake.
given the fact, given the fact that that statement from a Christian paradigm is interpreted differently by different models of the Trinity. I don't have a model of the Trinity that I uphold. So how would I answer that question?
First of all, you weren't debating anybody else. And I said in my opening statement, which I don't know if you even listened to very clearly or succinctly at all, I said you're not arguing with anybody else. You're arguing with me. My definition, which was on Carm, and that was there. You also, I got to give you credit for this. I was rather impressed in that you actually accurately defined the Christian doctrine of the Trinity as well as the Christian doctrine of the hypostatic union. I'll give you kudos for that. I didn't expect you to do as well as you did. Hey, praise God, you did. You did well. So you understood the
Praise
Christian
God, man.
doctrine. So yeah, the true God. So the the doctrine that I have there on Carm, which is the same thing, not the exact same wording, that you said was the doctrine of the Trinity. Great. All right. And your gotcha question that you have for Trinitarians is the statement Jesus is God, a statement of identity of predication. Well, I could ask you, what do you mean by God? I could ask you all kinds of questions, do the same thing that you would do. But I just asked a logical statement. Is the statement God is a triune being? Is there a state, an is of predication, an is of identity? Neither. I'm going to use the word neither now because the other guy said that, or both. It's a simple question. Are you able to answer it now?
No, it's not a simple question because you're asking for my view. And then when I clarify and ask you, what are you referring to? Now you go on this spiel, this long spiel about how, in fact, I'm supposed to answer from your perspective. So are you asking me what Matt Slick's position or answer to that question is? Yes.
And so in our debate, when I asked you what the hypostatic union was, you gave an accurate definition. Yet when I asked you about the issue of the statement, is God a triune being, identity, predication, or both, you said, I don't believe in the Trinity, so I don't have to answer it. I'm not going to answer it. I don't believe in it. Yet you don't believe in the hypostatic union. Yet you answered that one. So
Can I
I asked you
clarify what
then,
the difference is? Can I
and I
explain to you what the difference between those questions are?
and I showed you the inconsistency of why you would answer one and not
It's
another. And
not
I know why.
inconsistent.
And I
It's
know
not
why you.
inconsistent.
And I know why you wouldn't answer the first one, because it really
Why
blows a
wouldn't I
hole.
answer it?
Because it blows a hole in your whole position.
No, it doesn't blow any hole whatsoever. But Matt,
Then
if you
answer.
want me to explain it to you, what the difference between those two questions are, and why answering one and not the other is not inconsistent, I'd be happy to do so. The
Write it
simple
up,
fact of
please.
the matter, yeah, no, I don't need to write it up. I can do it for you right here. I
I
can
want you
do
to
it for
write
you
it
right
up
here, right now.
so I can respond to it on Carm. Give me your best shot. You can go through. You can do what you want with it, and then I'll just add it into the Carm corpus of stuff from Muslims. Unless you don't want me to do that. Unless you don't want that
I
answer
can
given out.
I can I can write it, but I thought that you were talking about it here because you were actually intending that I answer the question here. But if you're just posing
You're
questions for
dodging.
me like to, no, I'm not. I'm actually wanted to answer the question, but you don't seem like you want me to. And now when
Well,
I'm trying to, you're saying that I'm dodging? Come on, Matt. Like your tactics right now are quite pathetic.
oh, Jake, Romans 2:1. You're guilty of what you accuse others of doing. So be careful. So
No,
you want to answer the question?
I'm actually not, sir. But if you don't want an answer, if you want me to write up an answer, I can do that too. Whatever floats your boat. So
I've
which
asked
one
you
do
to
you
do.
want? Do you want me to answer the question now, or do you want me to write up an answer, or both?
I've, I've asked you to do both. I've asked you to give me an
Okay,
answer, and you've
okay. So then
dodged. And then I
exactly. So
said,
then let me
and
explain
then
it to you,
hold
then
on,
Matt.
hold on,
Then let me
and then I
explain it to you,
said,
Matt. If you want an answer, then you'll allow me to answer, won't you?
you're just doing
Or just
damage
you go
control.
ahead. You talk for 5 more minutes and let me.
Oh wow, seriously? I asked you several times what it was. Then you didn't answer. Now you haven't answered. And then I said, well, if you're not going to do it, then write it up, and I'll give you an answer. And then you say, oh, which one do you want, Matt? I'm just trying to accommodate you. Which one do you want to go for?
I'm happy to do it right now, but it seems like you don't want me to. So if you be quiet for a second, I can actually answer the question.
Oh, yeah.
Are you willing to do that?
I'll just
Hello?
continue to work on an article. And
Okay, so you don't want to answer
others,
the question.
no,
So
what I want you to do, I want you to write it out.
I'll explain it to the audience, Matt. Okay, so now you're saying you want me to write it out, that you don't want me to answer the question. So this is what I'm
No,
saying. You're inconsistent. You don't even know what you want, Matt.
what I want is for you to, I've asked you to answer it. You've stalled and
No, I
pontificated.
haven't stalled. I've attempted to answer,
So,
but every single time I try to, you cut me off.
what I want you to do now is you can answer now verbally. Would you please consider writing up a response to it and sending it to me at info@carm.org? And then I will write up a response to that. What do you think? Sound good? Is that agreeable?
Yeah, I don't have any problem with that.
Good. You do that. You explain. I'm going to go check on my wife, make sure she's okay, and then I'll be waiting for in the next few days a response from you on that at info@carm.org. Do I have your permission? Please, in there, put your permission to copy exactly what you say on the website so that I can respond to it. Was that
Yeah,
okay too?
sure, but
Okay,
I'm also going to give my verbal response right now.
good. You do that. I'm going to go check on my wife. All right.
Okay. So
Thanks,
Matt
Doc.
thinks, yeah. So Matt thinks I'm inconsistent because I was unwilling to answer the question when he says that the Trinity is God. Is that a statement of predication, or is a statement of predication, identity, or both? And he thinks that that's somehow analogous to me answering his question about what the hypostatic union is, and the fact that I answered the latter and not the former shows an inconsistency on my part that I'm somehow trying to avoid the first question because it's going to lead to some other problem that I'm unwilling to answer or that I can't answer. And that's just so far from the truth. It's not even funny. So, Matt, let me explain to you what the difference is. You might not be here, but you could listen to it later, and I'll write it up for you as well. Fact of the matter is that when I answer what the question about what the hypostatic union is, that's a description of a theological doctrine. It's the fact that Jesus or the Son is one person in the incarnate state with two natures. He's both fully human and fully divine. Yada, yada, yada. He possesses two wills in the incarnate state. We can pile on as many statements as you want. That's a description of what the doctrine is. I was able to do the same thing with the Trinity. However, what would be analogous is if you ask me, what do Christians mean when they say that Jesus had a human nature? Or what do Christians mean when they say that Christ had a divine nature? Or Jake, what is your position on when we say that Jesus is divine or that Jesus was a human? That would be analogous to the question of what does it mean when we say that the Trinity is God? Is that a statement of identity, predication, or both? But it wasn't analogous in the way that you set it up, because one is a verbal description of what Christians say about a doctrine, which I'm able to do with the Trinity and the hypostatic union. But if you ask me for the interpretation of what that doctrine means and what specific sentences mean, that is not the same thing as explaining or announcing verbal proclamations of the said doctrine. So, for example, Christians believe that Jesus was fully man. But what does that actually mean? Well, it's going to be cashed out differently depending on the Christian that you speak to. Some Christians think that Jesus being fully man entails that he must have had a human will, he must have had a human soul, yada, yada, yada. But other Christians like William Lane Craig would reject that. They don't think that Christ had a human soul. You see, the difference is I can explain the verbal acceptance and what the doctrine is claiming to say, but the meaning of those statements is different. And so the same thing goes for the Trinity. When you say that the Trinity is God, right? Is that a statement of identity, predication, or both? Now you're getting into not just what is the description of the Trinity, you're getting into the meaning of the proposition of the statement itself. And that is going to depend on the Christian that you ask. And when I asked if Matt wants me to answer the question from his point of view, he is inconsistent. Sometimes it seems like he's saying, no, I want you to answer it from your point of view. Well, my point of view is I don't believe in the Trinity. So I don't have a view on what that statement is supposed to mean. I can give you a breakdown of how different Christians interpret what that statement is supposed to mean. But if you want me to give you what I think Matt Slick's view is, then I can do that too. But when I say it that way, you don't say, yeah, tell me what you think my view is. So this is the difference. There's no inconsistency in me answering one question and not the other. And the fact that Matt and maybe some of his friends fail to understand the difference between those two things, it's not my problem. It's yours.
Alrighty. Thank you guys for the good back and forth. Hey, Gavin, there's a few people who want to join the room. I'm not going to ask you to unblock anybody, but I'm just going to move you to the audience for just a few minutes, and you can come right back up. All right, buddy?
Sounds like he's AFK.
He might not be there, but I'll bring him back up.
Okay, let's see.
Does he have anyone blocked though?
He does. He has a few blocked. And like, look, I have people blocked, and I get it that sometimes if you block somebody, the mods will ask you to step down to let them in, or so it's just nature of Clubhouse. I know you won't do that, Johnny. You tell them to submit to your authority and that they just need to bend a knee.
That's correct.
And Gavin, we'll bring you right back up as soon as the other two join.
I don't know if there's a queue, but I would like to ask Matt a very quick question if he comes.
I don't see him here anymore, but if he does come back, you're welcome to do it.
It seemed like he was just asking Jake to steelman his view of the Trinity, but I don't know why he wouldn't just word it like that. And the question was very confusing.
But Haiti, when I asked him that in both in the debate and now, and I say, well, Matt, do you want me to explain what I think your view is? He doesn't just say yes. He
Yeah,
won't answer and say yes.
right, because he was trying to do some like weird gotcha, but unfortunately, I think everyone saw through it.